Good morning, dear students. A very hearty welcome to GC Tech Hub CS tutorials. I hope you are following my videos properly, and I'm also trying my level best to explain each and every concept to you in the best possible way. If you have any doubts or if you have any queries regarding any of the topics, you can just leave a comment below and just let me know. So, in today's class, we are going to take the discussion a little further and start discussing about what are public clouds, because we had started with cloud computing in the previous class, and I had also covered private clouds there. So, we will start with public clouds today. So, let us move on to today's class. So here we are. In the previous class, we studied about a private cloud, and we had seen how a private cloud is actually a cloud, or we'll not say a cloud, but it is a data center or cloud services which have been set up by one company for handling its own operations, and it is totally confined to its intranet. Nothing goes out of it without any kind of monitoring, and nothing comes inside without monitoring. So it prevents any kind of unauthorized access from outside, and it also prevents any confidential data to leak out. And this cloud is not for the general public or outside people to access. It is only there for access by the particular company. So either a company can set up a cloud of its own, or it could use services from any of the companies, which I had already shown you a few of them over here. Now, public cloud. It is just opposite to a private cloud, because it is a cloud service which is open to all people, and some services could be provided free of cost, and after a certain threshold those services will have to be paid for. Like, some public clouds are provided by Amazon Web Services, that is AWS Direct Connect, Google Cloud, Azure Express Route, that is Microsoft. It's a Microsoft product, and Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Fast Connect. So this is basically for IaaS, that is Infrastructure as a Service. So you can see that public clouds are generally open to everyone, and they provide free services also, and certain services are also paid for, purchase services also, but they are shared. It's a shared platform which is generally shared by multiple subscribers, multiple customers, and there are less security features. There are security features, no doubt, but they are less in comparison to private cloud, because mostly it is a platform which is open to all people. One example I would give is the Google Cloud platform, which we use a lot for um, saving our documents, for backup, for creating a backup of all our documents, for all our files which are on our hard disk, which are on the hard disk of our laptop or computer, and we try to clear them off and store it somewhere. So we need a storage location somewhere, and that is provided by Google Cloud. And it not only that, but it also provides us with many various applications on the go, like Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides, so, and various other products which are available online as a product of Google. So they all are provided by Google Cloud. And this is a public cloud. Just there is another type of cloud which is known as community cloud. Basically, a community cloud is a, you can say it is a cloud platform which is a shared platform between organizations or companies which belong to one single community. Like, for example, military organizations, they may have their own community cloud. Only military personnels or military organizations or militaries of company, not of countries, defense personnel can access that, nobody else. Universities in a given region can also connect together to form a community cloud of universities. Suppliers to a large manufacturer, Salesforce community cloud, consulting providers. So this is one example. You can see, like, these are some of the companies which provide these community cloud services as Salesforce Community Cloud consulting providers like Coastal Cloud, Access Global Group, 7 Points, and another Corrado Group, uh, Corao Group blog. So these all are Salesforce Community Cloud providers. So basically, these are the cloud services which are shared by a particular community. Apart from this, we have hybrid clouds. Now, hybrid clouds are those platforms which combine the facilities, which combine the services provided by private as well as public clouds. Now, what these companies generally target a larger group. Okay, and because of that most companies are moving into hybrid cloud sector. Why? Because hybrid cloud has the features of private as well as public cloud. Private clouds are more secure as compared to public clouds, and public clouds are what which are shared by most people. So these hybrid clouds are also shared by they are cloud platforms which are shared by multiple consumers, but each consumer will have their own personal cloud platform. One thing, students, I would like to just add for private clouds, which I did not add in the previous lecture, that was those companies can even set a separate data center for a particular company if ever the company is strictly stuck at one point that they don't want to use a shared platform. So in that case, if provided the company is ready to pay to the cloud service provider company, then the service provider will generally set up a separate data center for them, and they will also outsource their own personnel, hardware personnel and cloud personnel, for managing that data center, and the entire responsibility for that cloud data center would be that of the cloud computing service provider company. So this is what is done with private clouds. And in hybrid clouds, actually it no separate data center is to be maintained, and the that company could use the already existing data centers of these companies, and that too with additional, with all security features of a private cloud. So it just combines the features of both private as well as public clouds. Hence, most companies you will find who are in the hybrid cloud sector. So some of the companies are HP Helion Cloud System, a unified hardware and software infrastructure solution for hybrid cloud; Rackspace, the open cloud company; Amazon Web Services; Google Cloud; Nutanix, your enterprise cloud; EMC hybrid cloud; VMware, IBM Cloud, and there are many more in the list. Next is a very interesting thing, that is Internet of Things, which is a growing trend these days. Connecting things, connecting devices, making them into smart devices, connecting devices with communication technologies such that we keep our life becomes easier on the go. So it is a technology that connects things to internet over wired or wireless connections. Computers, smartphones, home appliances, wearables, vehicles, factory machines, tagged animals, consumables, all things which you can think of. Even when you, while I'll just give you an example, you are running, you are doing your morning exercises and you are running in a park, you're jogging in a park, and you have wearables, you are wearing certain things, like you have a small band which is fit on your wrist which tells you your pulse rate. And not only that, but it also sends this data online to a particular website from where you can get all the required information, whether your pulse rate is normal or not, or whether this high pulse rate is normal or not. You can send this data easily to your doctor and get free consultations. Sorry, not free, but you can get some consultation regarding that. Also, you are wearing something, and this device also tells you how much of fat you have burned till now, right? So all these things, these are connecting various things to the internet to get services, to get information, allows people and things to be connected anytime, any place, with anything and anyone, ideally using any path or network and any service. So this is the basic USP of IoT. Enabling technologies for IoT. Which are the technologies which are used? First is RFID, radio frequency identification. So normally this is used for tagging animals in some remote places, or for even tagging pet animals. These days in usually this is a technique which is not followed much in our country, but in Western countries, in the West, it is followed a lot, where if you are buying a pet, you generally get a small surgery, a minor surgery done, where a small RFID tag is inserted into the body. It just embedded into the body of the animal. Usually it is near the earlobe, which is not a very sensitive place. Okay, ear, that is the earlobe. So within that, a small tag is inserted, and this tag is it is like a microchip. And normally they say that is your animal tagged or not, or is your animal chipped or not, and it can be easily detected using a smartphone or a special dedicated device, and the data could be sent to the cloud, or and can be saved in a database, or sent to somebody for extra identification, or the person who has lost the pet would get information flashing on a social networking site. Use radio waves to read and capture information stored on a tag called RFID tag. And this is a technique which is used a lot for tracking wild animals, large animals like giraffes, zebras, elephants, huge animals in the wild, in the wilderland, where there are forest personnel who want to rescue certain injured animals. Now these are huge animals which are not very easy to tame, and moreover they are wild animals. So sometimes to cure them or to treat them, they need to just tag them. So they shoot them with a tranquilizer and they tag them, and it is very, they can even keep a track of the progress, the health progress of that animal, even after the animal is free to roam around in the wild. So they can keep a track of that animal using this RFID tag. Every device, the thing on the IoT has an RFID tag. It is a small microchip attached to an antenna. It identifies and tracks the data of the things, that is the device. This technology is composed of one or more readers and RFID tags that communicate with one another. Sensors. Various types of sensing devices are there for sensing various things like vision, light, electromagnetic signals, motion, speed, chemical reactions, temperature, humidity, position or proximity, that is closeness, acoustic or vibration, that is some related to sounds. So devices that detect changes in the environment, able to measure physical phenomenon like temperature, pressure, etc., and transform that into electrical signal. For example, if suppose normally you might have seen that is, there are various such energy efficient devices which are there, which like a person entered the room and the electricity just glows. How is it detected? Because of the person, the because of the infrared radiation from the person. Because normally we are warm blooded animals, hence we tend to emit some infrared, some heat, and that is detected by infrared cameras. And not only that, but even many ghost detectors, paranormal investigators also use various types of sensors to measure the amount of heat in the room, to measure temperature in the room, and also some very sudden spikes in the electromagnetic signals in electromagnetic signals in a particular room. So all these things are used. And not only that, but also some sound or vibration, some sound enhancers are also used. Various devices are there. And then motion or speed, if you can even understand if anything is moving in front of you by that. And usually there are cameras which are sensitive to motion of a person, and they can, if there is a kind, if you live in a very deserted or isolated place, you can have a camera which is sensitive to movement. So if there is something or someone there at the door, it will be able to track the movement of the person. And sometimes even smoke detectors, if there is any kind of a fire or anybody is smoking, then it just detects the smoke. So any kind of thing which senses something and transforms into an electrical signal, that is also used. And also if somebody is standing outside, you can easily be alerted by that. So collect data about the status of the thing. Some common sensors: temperature sensors, proximity sensors, that is closeness, which if somebody, if you are not able to see in the dark, you can just figure out that something is nearing you, or you are camping in a very remote location or in a middle of a forest, you can easily uh, be able to identify if there is any wild animal or something or someone is approaching or drawing near to the camp. So you can protect yourself. Pressure sensor, optical sensors, humidity sensors. Optical sensors are basically used in companies for retinal detection. Okay, so it for retinal scan, because there are many laboratories which require only the required authenticated personnel to get inside. So retinal scanning is used over there. Then also these days we have our fingerprint punching and facial detection uh, punching also. So that is also, because that thing is already connected to the internet, so all that data is collected and it could be saved or sent somewhere. Humidity sensor, motion detection sensors, smoke sensors. Motion detection, one of the very famous examples is that of any gaming console, which you get a small remote thing which you just wind across. It comes along with a small tape which you wind up around your wrist, and with that you can easily play games, or you can shoot people, or you just make a shooting movement, or you make a beating movement, and the character behaves accordingly on the screen. Gas sensors for detecting any kind of smoke or any kind of catastrophe. So these are there. Then smart technologies. These days there are a lot of smart technologies which are available. You have might have heard about Amazon Alexa, Google Assistant. So these are devices which can, even you have your Google Assistant installed on your mobile phones, and sometimes you can also purchase a separate Google Assistant device or an Amazon Alexa device and keep it. And for that, you need to have smart appliances which are a bit costlier than normal appliances. Like you can have a smart TV, you can have a smart speaker, smart light, smart television, smart radio, smart kitchen appliances. Any kind of such devices are, they use smart technology and they can be operated by your voice command. So include additional functionality, have other processing capabilities as per requirements. Smart controllers can connect with smart devices and act on them, like turning off or on the device, stopping vehicle, locking or unlocking doors, giving you the latest updates about the news, or giving you the latest update about the weather, a weather forecast, how weather would be, or what is the temperature outside the room, or the moment you get up, something should greet you with a nice song or a nice jingle, and also welcome you by uttering out your name. So this way, people, even people who are living alone, they can get a feeling that there is someone along with them. So these smart technologies are a part of Internet of Things. So if you are ready to spend more money, you can easily afford all these things. Adjust temperature of oven, or even temperature of the room can be adjusted. Lights could be dimmed or brightened accordingly. Okay, then these are certain things which we saw today, that is cloud computing, Internet of Things, which are the latest technologies. Believe me, in our times we never enjoyed such things. We used to get content with a simple computer and a small and a very basic dial-up connection, but you people are lucky that you are getting access to all these things. Even we are getting access to all these things, but you people have more time in your life to use them. So If you have any doubts or any queries, kindly leave a comment below and I'll try my level best to solve your problems. And do watch these lectures also because they'll be helping you with your exams also. And please do watch them regularly. And if you feel that you have been benefited by this lecture, please do like it and share it with others. So I end the class over here today. Thank you all for listening to me patiently, and we will meet again in the next class. Thank you.